I'll call this Great Cloud Island Town Board meeting, August 9th, to order.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're gonna change the, we'd like to bring the tree trimmer up here. I'm gonna leave my,
Senator,
Go ahead.
I like that. We should do that in our township.
Okay. We brought you up here first in case we can talk you down on some money or something changes. You can always go outside, refigure, and come back in. Or
We can adjust anything
or
to meet
tell
your
us-
guys' budget.
or tell us you
well,
want.
we initially thought it was gonna be around 20 grand.
Yeah, your starting point, yeah.
Yeah, well, I know, but it went up to 50 real quick.
Yeah.
And, yeah, maybe you can, do some things, a little less in there.
Yep,
Get it
absolutely.
more.
So me and Dick ran around again today and kind of looked at things, got him on the same page as far as what we were kind of looking for, what our end goal is going to be long term. We can scale the project back a little bit and we can just do clearances. So we'll go 16 feet above the road surface, push it up to about 4 feet off the edge of the pavement. That would be your standard clearance that you want.
That would be,
The drawbacks to doing a project like that is that in 2 years, you're going to be doing it all over again. So that's through about 15 years of doing work with West Lakeland Township as well as Baytown Township and a few other projects that we've worked. I use West Lakeland as a great example because that's really where we've kind of gone through the trial and errors of everything. Initially, we did just the clearance cuts where we just trimmed above the road, trimmed a little on the sides. But every 2 years, we were in there doing the same exact project for the same exact amount of money because we still weren't able to maintain it remotely. Now, in the last 10 years, we've switched more over to a full cutback on the property, on our right-of-ways. So when we do the full cutback on the right-of-ways, your ditch mowing contractor should be able to maintain the right-of-way through mowing. So I like to use Nolan and Neal Avenue for a good example. That was the first project that we did in West Lakeland where we did a full cutback. Cost a little bit more initially, but over a 10-year period, we haven't had to put a penny into that road versus the 5 years previous, we were in that road 3 or 4 times trimming stuff. So if you cut the stuff back correctly, your mowing should take care of it. In 10 years, what you're going to have to deal with is going to be a few branches here and there that droop down into the road surface versus if you just do clearance cuts, then every 2 years you're going to be spending the same $25,000, $30,000 to do the whole township. So you do the math over a 10-year period, it ends up costing you twice as much over long term versus doing it right the first time. And this project here, as me and Dick went around, it's not quite what we would do in West Lakeland. It's not nearly as aggressive as what we would do in West Lakeland. We're leaving a lot of larger trees that do impede the mowing. So those are spots where, the brush will grow up around the trees. Those trees will continue to get larger and continue to grow. So those will be problem spots for you down the road. But it should be kind of concentrated in those problem spots. And in West Lakeland, we would take those trees right out of our right of way. So basically, when we cut a road in West Lakeland now, anything that's within 15 feet of our road right of way, in some spots we have a 25-foot road right of way, we take the trees out now versus waiting to have to continually trim them every couple of years and let brush grow. So kind of lessons learned over time. So I guess when you guys approached me, I looked at it as what's going to be financially responsible for your residents in the long term, not just for right now.
well, I don't think going back 15 feet from the road is, I mean, there's gonna be a lot of people.
Yeah, and
Man.
a lot of this right away that we looked at, we used 10 to 15 feet for the brushing. we're still leaving a lot of trees in there, so we're only taking trees that are gonna be 10-inch diameter and smaller, that are gonna be within that spot, and only if it makes practical sense, if you're gonna gain something from it. So there's a lot of stretches like 105th, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, 105th there. There's so many large trees that are within 6, 7, 8 feet of that road surface right there that unless you take those trees out, you're not gonna gain anything by
Oh,
taking
Pioneer,
out.
there was a lot of them like that. It's
Yeah.
a dirt road over there, they're
Yeah.
past the dirt road.
Unless you
Yeah.
take the large trees, you're not gonna gain a whole lot from taking the small trees. But on the flip side of that, if you have a, call it a 6-inch diameter walnut tree that's growing, within 15 feet or 10 feet of your road surface, right now is a great time to get rid of that tree because that tree's costing little to nothing to get out of there because you're already in there doing the project versus waiting for that walnut tree to continue to grow and continue to
How
shed
big around
branch.
is it?
What's that?
How big is it?
6-inch? 6-inch should be roughly about this big, kind of in between what I would call a softball and a basketball, kind of that in-between range. 10-inch would be about the size of a basketball. That would be the higher side of the trees that we'd be removing. Most of those trees are going to be within, I'd say, maybe 6 feet of the road surface.
Yeah.
There was a stretch on, was it Pioneer? Is that the gravel then turned to?
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, I'm not totally familiar
Yeah.
with your township other than the maps that I've looked at and the roads I've traveled. But there was a stretch where there was several large cottonwoods that were within, I'll call it 4 or 5 feet of the road surface.
Yeah.
There one specifically that was about a foot off the road there. If you had 2 vehicles passing, 2 pickup trucks, when I looked at that tree, if I had oncoming traffic coming at me, there's no way I wouldn't take a mirror off on my truck. That tree's just entirely too close to the road. And you gotta remember with cottonwood right now, that tree's about a 22, 24-inch diameter tree. That tree in another 25, 30 years is gonna be a 3 or 4 foot diameter tree. So those are things right now. You take it out now, it's a lot cheaper than if you wait 10 years and have to take it down to 10 years.
Did that adjust the price though?
Yeah, there's a separate line item for the cottonwoods here. It looks like I had several of them on there that were recommended to come out for $3,000 for those cottonwoods. And there again, we're utilizing forestry mulching in a large portion of your right-of-way there, so that's an ASB 120F with a lockness head on it, and essentially it's just going to take all the brush, it's going to grind it right back up into place. That saves you on the haul away cost. Even though you guys are providing a dump site for us, it costs a lot more money to haul stuff out of the ditches and to move stuff to the truck and then load it in the truck and move it down the road. And then you guys got a big brush pile that you guys got to deal with too.
How do you cut those out of the way? Those don't have telephone lines on them?
The trees,
Yeah.
I mean, if they're up in the telephone lines, we'll top them out first. There isn't really anything that you have in your high wires here or in your power lines that's going to be any concern. A lot of the vegetation that's coming out is going to be almost exclusively buckthorn. It's going to be I would say the buckthorn probably accounts for 75% of this.
Yep, on that road,
Project.
it's full of buckthorn.
Yep, it's almost all buckthorn, and it makes more sense to forestry mulch it in place than it does to go in there, cut it by hand, haul it out to the road, load it in a truck, haul it away. And then you get a better finished product. I know in West Lakeland, we get a 50-50 mix. Half the people like it, half the people don't like it. But the people that don't like it, after 2, 3 months, 6 months, you don't even know it's been done because the vegetation grows back up. Your ditch mower comes through, and the more he mows it, the more grasses are going to get established in that area.
Just for a little comparison, that Rick Cook was down at my house dumping chips yesterday. I asked him, he says, no, he's just, you know Ricky. I says, how much you charge us to do this? He says, about $1,000 an hour, he said. He said, by the time I put men down there in a truck and a chipper and a grinder, he said.
Yeah, and I did give you guys the hourly rate too. What we found, we do them both ways in West Lakeland. Right now, we're working an hourly project in West Lakeland for 20 miles of road right away for $130,000 was the estimated cost from the storm damage on April 1st.
His hourly rate, you guys probably haven't seen, I put it up there. He sent it an email about an hour ago, so.
So because it's storm damage, and the state's given us a reimbursement in West Lakeland chose to go with the hourly rate. Right now, we're almost spot on as far as the original estimate was concerned with the work that we've done, aside from a drainage easement that we ran over by, I think, $2,000 we ran over by doing it the hourly way. We had like 6 extra man hours in there and a couple extra loads of material that came out of that easement. So either way, I would say if you go the hourly rate versus the bulk rate, for me, it doesn't matter, because it ends up being essentially the same thing at the end of the day for me. It's just the hourly rate is a little more risky because, you know, when I look at these projects here, we look at how much time am I going to have into it, how much cutting, how much material do we have to haul away, how much fuel are we going to go through, and we kind of get those hours figured into the bid itself, so it's a fixed bid. If I make a mistake on it, and this project ends up costing me, you know, 10 grand more than what I quoted it at, well, that's on me, not you guys, versus the hourly rate. You get through the hourly rate, if it goes 10 grand over, it goes 10 grand over.
So is the 52,000 still that?
What's that?
Is it still 52,000?
Yep, the project we looked at was 52,000, yeah. And that's, I would call that a 3/4 to 7/8 full cutback. You're not quite to 15 feet. There are some spots where we felt that 15 feet was a good idea. It's rural, unmaintained right away. There's no houses around or anything. So it's all buckthorn that we're taking. There's a power line in there. XL is probably going to come through at some time and top those trees out again at some point in time.
Do you get something on top of the stumps left with buckthorn, or do you take everything?
So the forestry mulching in itself, so my mulcher runs hammers on it, so I can dig that head into the ground 3.5 inches to eat up root structure. So we don't ever go that deep into the ground with it, but we usually put that head in the ground about 1.5 inches or so, and that eats up a lot of the buckthorn. For future maintenance of these roads, your mower should be able to maintain this. If you're mowing twice a year, which is what, you know, most municipalities do in West Lakeland, we mow 3 to 5 times a year for invasive species. But if you're mowing twice a year, once in the spring, you know, starting right around June 15th is about your start date, and then once in the fall, which is going to be, you know, right around tail end September, sometimes into October, depending on the season. That mower in itself is going to shear off the new buckthorn growth, because most of what's going to come back is going to be residual seed. You will get some sprouting off the stumps here and there, but they're level and flush with the ground, and the mowers can handle that regrowth. It's essentially, if you're mowing twice a year, it's like mowing grass almost.
Okay.
So if we were to scale back and just say, you know, I mean, I look at Pioneer and all these roads, you know, most of our roads only have a 4-foot grass edge or 5-foot grass edge. If we were to just say we want to match that edge and just have a vertical trim up to 16 feet.
You'd save yourself about 20 grand on the price. So it is a decent chunk of savings. The drawbacks to that 4 feet, through my experiences, because I also do ditch mowing as well, when we're at 4 feet, we start having a problem seeing the mowers, and every year we get pushed out a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, and then next thing you know, you're right at the edge of the road, because it's hard to mow these ditches with all that vegetation when you're sitting 7-8 feet up off the ground, and you're trying to look through that vegetation and see where your mower's at without catching, you know, brush and stumps. So that's kind of a drawback to sticking with that 4 feet, but it is definitely an option. Financially, it does save you about 20 grand.
I mean, I just don't even think, we don't even own that property, so there's,
Well, we don't really own the property anywhere,
no,
except
but,
on Geneva.
So I sent you a list or state statute, which I'd recommend your attorney to kind of go over, because we do have that problem in West Lakeland where we have prescriptive right-of-way and not dedicated right-of-way, though it is few and far in between for us.
yep.
So with regards to that, you have to give notice to your residents, and I always recommend, even if it is a dedicated recommend right-of-way, give notice to your residents, because that saves me a monster headache. Because if we just go in and start cutting, everyone's coming out of the woodwork, they're coming up to us, they're usually pretty upset because they don't know what's going on, and then they get even more upset because they weren't informed, and you know, it saves me a lot of headache, but it gives them an opportunity to come to you and say, hey, you know what, yeah, this is a great idea, I'm all for it on my property, or hey, if we'd like to meet with you and see exactly what you're taking out, give us some reasons why you're taking it out. You know, 4 feet is probably good on some of your spots there, but when we get around like signage and corners and stuff, then we have to start worrying about sight lines and liabilities on corners and stuff. Even though it's a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit, when you come around the corner with oncoming traffic or somebody's walking on the road, something you should be a little bit concerned about.
Yep. Didn't that price include taking them big cottonwoods out we're looking at, where my truck is sitting there? That's on Pioneer, that was them.
No, that wouldn't
Okay, you leave them there,
Yeah,
okay,
if you were
all
just
right.
doing a line clearance.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd be taking care of like the vegetation over the top of
Yeah.
your truck there.
Well, I mean, the $50,000 bid.
Oh, the 50, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the total price on the bottom includes that.
Okay, all right.
Yep, so that just kind of bulks everything together down to the bottom. We aim for 16 feet over the road surface. The minimum road clearance is 14 feet. 13.6 is legal height in Minnesota for trucks. If we can get to 17
Well, he
feet,
has his bucket raised.
what's that?
He has his bucket raised.
Oh, Beulah
Yeah.
for the snow plowing? Yep, yeah, even with this bucket raised, he should still be around that 14-foot mark. Yeah, he shouldn't be too much higher than that, unless he's at a full tilt. And that would be a question for him. I mean, we shoot for 16 feet over our road surfaces.
He likes to dump the salt here, so he probably has her pretty straight up.
Yeah, he charges by the pound, yeah.
Got to switch him over to a salt sand mix.
Yeah.
90, now we're down to 80-20 and 80% sand, 20% salt in West Lake.
Oh, are they? Oh, okay. We'll have to remember
We're
that
an
next fall.
MS4 community also.
If we wanted to break this up into different stuff, would you be open to spread it out or any of that stuff?
Yeah,
Or-
absolutely. It's kind of up to you on how you guys want to do it. Timing wise, we wouldn't be able to touch this project probably until end of September, realistically, probably more like mid-October, end of October. We want to get it before the snow flies, so your snowplow contractor's not getting his lights ripped off and beat up pretty good on his equipment and stuff. I don't know how he feels about that. Myself, I don't like driving my trucks through brush.
105th is on here too. You don't have it written here, but.
Yeah, it's the very last line item there. I just forgot to put the 105 on there. I apologize for that. I did correct it in my
Okay.
computer.
Well, I think for me, it'd be nice to have a little discussion as a community on what route we want to go and try and get a couple other numbers coming into or whatever. We just got to do our homework for them.
Yep.
So, sounds like we got
That'd
a
be a
little
good
bit of
job
time.
for you.
Yeah, it's always a good idea to get multiple bids. I mean, I can tell you right now, we're not the cheapest company. I don't want to be the cheapest company. I'm quality based, so my customers get what they pay for. But it's always a great idea because there's a lot of quality companies. We're kind of fortunate in the Twin Cities area here to have so many tree services to choose from that are high quality companies and do good quality work for a reasonable price. The only thing I'd say is just compare apples to apples.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is figuring out how far we want to push it back and what we actually want to do and know what we want.
Well, when I rode around with him where we looked at it, it was, like I say, it wasn't the same everywhere. Some places you can go back 10 feet, and the next place you can only go back, well, like on Pioneer, or 99th down here, some people got lilacs planted. Well, you can shave off the front of them that are hanging over the road, but they probably don't want the whole lilac bushes gone the whole row.
Yeah, that was the other thing I was gonna say. So in front of houses and stuff where there's brush, we're a little more cautious in front of houses. A lot of times customers will come out and they'll ask us to cut them off because they look like crap and they're like, can you just cut them off for us? And we're like, yeah, absolutely. But around the house there, like he was saying, there's that one lilac hedge. It's tangled up in grapevine pretty bad. But that would be a hedge we'd hedge trim the side of it, get us to that 4 to 6 feet. Lilacs aren't gonna shoot that fast. And that way we're not hurting their privacy. Because that's kind of the last thing we want to do is ruin somebody's privacy. That's where people get upset.
Oh, I think it's put together nice. I like it's pretty clear on what we would get out of it and stuff, so appreciate it.
Yeah, and there was other spots we looked at where it just wasn't practical for us to go to that 10 foot. I mean, like I said, too many big trees, you're not going to gain anything, so why waste the money?
Well, I really appreciate you coming up and speaking about it right away.
Yeah, not a problem.
Then you can leave.
So we're gonna shop around for another price? That what
Well,
we're
I
gonna
think
do?
we got to discuss the footages, what we want to do, and just
Yeah.
I mean,
That's-
we'll try and get back to you by the end of or next month or whatever. So I'll let you know what we're doing. Yeah.
If you get a chance, redo this and just split them apart more for each road.
Yeah.
So it's a little cleaner.
Yeah, I can do that.
And then 105th is marked in there.
Yeah.
Just send it to Pam or me.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thanks,
Okay.
thanks.
Thanks,
Okay.
Have a good day.
Yep.
You're welcome.
Okay, we got the approval of the meeting minutes from July 12th and July 25th.
Can I say something about?
Oh, yep.
Should we just talk about that when we get back to tree trimming?
Oh, yeah,
There-
yeah.
It's on the
Yeah.
agenda.
Oh,
Okay. Anyway, approval of the meeting minutes from July 12th and July 25th.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from July 12th and 25th.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Treasurer's report.
All right, so it's the third page in your packets,
Yep.
if you want to follow along. Our beginning balance, just you guys, if anyone's interested. Beginning balance of $150,452, less our expenses for July, which were $36,952, left us with a subtotal of $113,501. And then we had revenues add in there of $11,164 for an ending balance in our checking of $124,665. And then the total of our two UBS investment accounts is $454,435 for total assets for the township of $579,100. Then moving on to the middle section, our year-over-year expenses were slightly down, $2,920, and this was due to kind of two offsetting items. In 2023, we had $20,000 of additional snow removal invoices. This was just due to the timing of when we paid those invoices. In prior years, we paid them in the snow season versus this year we paid them in July. And then that was offset with the savings. We no longer are paying for police and fire protection, so saving 25 grand there. So those two items are kind of offsetting year over year. And then for our revenues in 2023 were $32,471 lower. And this was due to two items. In 2022, we received American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA funds, worth $16,000. So those are related to some of the COVID initiatives. And then additionally, last year we had a refund when the county was overcharging us for salt. We received $25,000 refund from them. And then offset this year, we received our first half gravel tax payment for $8,000 a month earlier than last year. So a couple offsetting items there. And then down at the bottom, looking at our kind of budget progress for the year. Year to date, we've spent $120,475 against our full year budget of $187,016. So that leaves us with just over $66,000 for the remainder of the year. And then on the revenue side, we've collected $138,018, and on our full year budget of $187,016, leaving us with an additional about $49,000 to collect. Any questions for me?
No, thank you very much.
I'll make a motion to accept treasurer's report.
Second that?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
When you wanna,
I'll make a motion, we pay the bills for August for $16,242.43.
I'll second that.
any questions on the bills?
I didn't totally look at them. Oh, we did get a price from Tracy Mann. Okay, I was wondering if that was in there. Okay.
Just a question, what is the escrow piece? I just don't know what that is.
Yeah, and I'll touch on it, and then if anyone has anything to add. A resident, working with our attorney, obviously, a resident had to give us a $10,000 escrow deposit due to some items they were out of compliance for. So we held on to that $10,000 until they became compliant, and this was the difference of any costs we as a township incurred with our attorney or other fees, and then return the difference back to that resident.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
We really didn't make money on that guy. He cost us about $6,000. Anybody sees him, you can thank him. We got to vote on it.
Yeah, I'm just,
Looking at him.
okay, no other questions, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Planning Commission report.
Well, good afternoon. We met yesterday. We only had one real item on the agenda, which was the review, and I think you have a packet with that request for a garage at Mr. Hoyt's property. It's an interesting situation because the existing the existing structure is actually over the property line, so they would like to move that structure to within the property line. However, they would like to request an exemption to be within 15 feet of our ordinances. We have a setback of 15 feet to the mound, septic mound, and to the property line. So the request was to do build a new different structure, but also put a variance request to go from 15 to 5 feet. We discussed it and we moved it for approval, so we're recommending that is accepted.
The 5 foot?
5 foot versus 15, yes.
And they got a variance request.
And they have a variance request that is within your packet. Mr.
I'm a
Bolton,
little, how close is it to the mound?
it is 5 feet as well, I believe. 5 feet, right?
It's currently on the mound.
It's currently on the mound. So this is a pretty interesting drawing, because it's one of the actual discussion items we had. So on the green, you can probably see it. That is the current structure, which is already over the line. So what they're trying to do is correct it and move it. They would like to move it within a 5 and 5 variance, which we understood as, yes, it is a variance request, but at the same time, it's proven upon the theme, because currently it is really not compliant. And we would like to encourage owners to do similar things, that they actually request when they want to do these things, instead of just do them and then ask for the variance after the fact. And that was part of the consideration, so we moved it for approval, or to propose the approval of it.
Yep, okay.
And then Holcim may have some comments on it. I believe that Dick did a request for legal counsel to make sure that we were not going to have any concerns with the justification of the variance request. And then we asked them to submit a variance request approval, which you also did.
So was there any discussion around, like, was there hardship or lay of the land on a reason? Because I see they have they have a new garage that could meet our current ordinances. Was there any reasoning?
We actually have this under new business too.
Okay.
When we get down there, so we
Okay.
can talk about the whole thing.
Yeah, so from a planning commission perspective, we did discuss it, and we felt that there's a precedent of situations like this. So we wanted to advance it forward, or at least that's a discussion that we had, and then you've got it as a discussion item on whether or not you accept it or not. So,
Okay.
and that was the only item. It was a record-breaking 26-minute meeting. So,
Why don't you give them a report tonight too? We could do that. It's kind of part of your deal, our meeting we had tonight with,
and that's also on the agenda later on.
oh, it is, okay, all right, okay.
So what do you mean by, I guess, the planning commission feels there's a precedent on?
So my understanding is that there was a variance request granted on a structure that got built prior, I don't know which one, in which these variances had not been granted, but the structure was actually built, and then it was kind of backwards. I built it, and then you're going to grant me a variance. We thought that would be a similar situation, so.
That property had hardship, it couldn't be, so because that was a tough situation, but it also came with a legal standpoint when we approve a variance, our duty to do that, it's not pick and choose, it's, when we went out and looked at that property, they really couldn't, we could have made them cut a 45 off their garage to not do it, but they had to build where they had to build, so it wasn't like a.
So I think the discussion we had is, they're currently, not with a variance, they're currently on a different property, they're currently on the mound. This is improving.
Getting close to.
Are we okay with that?
Okay.
That's the discussion we had.
Okay.
And I recognize that you have other considerations, but that's the action we took. So I'm reporting, I'm not necessarily justifying.
Thank you.
You got it.
Thanks, Laura.
You got it.
There's only one question I have, and you can mull on it, but, what is the minimum distance to a mound system?
15.
15? Are we gonna do that one, or the 5 feet?
So the 5 to both is what we moved, but you can, obviously this is not an immediate approval. We recommend it or not, and then the recommendation is what you got. You can vary that if necessary.
I think you should go with the 15 feet. You
Well,
can
let's-
still.
We're gonna talk about that when we
Let's
get
do
to,
this under the new business. We got it
Yeah.
on the next page, so.
we'll
let's
talk
just keep
about it
moving
later.
Alright.
on our line.
Next town board meeting is Wednesday, September 13th at 7 o'clock. Next planning commission meeting is Monday, September 11 at 6:30. Any other committees?
Do we need to talk about the continuation of the annual meeting at all? Or just note it, maybe, if that's still happening?
Yeah, that's September 19th, I think.
Maybe, what time is that, 6 PM or 7?
That I don't remember.
It was at 7, I'm pretty sure. We can verify, but
Are you gonna be able to make that?
nature
Not
will
my
tell.
choice.
7 PM,
Oh, September 19th.
note that for everybody.
We gonna have to approve the purchase of a crib if you're coming to that meeting?
I think so. If I'm here, I'll be miserable, so we'll see.
That's what you got a
Just
husband
another
for.
day.
Yep,
That's what you got a husband for.
there you go.
Okay, the next item is the town hall lease. I like what your changes you made, by the way, Dick.
She changed them on me. She
Oh.
gave us more time.
Well, that's because the date was wrong.
Yeah.
So we misinterpreted the date that Dick had, that the lease was executed was July 10th, 2019. That's when the option agreement to purchase the town hall property was actually executed. So the actual date that the lease commenced, the actual date that the lease commenced was, hang on, getting confused.
April 13th.
13th, 2020. That's when we closed, both parties closed on the purchase of the town hall, and folks sold it to us on that date. So I sent Pam and Dick a copy of your buyer's closure statement, which reflects that date. Then I sent them a copy of the lease agreement that was executed a few days before that, but the actual date that we were looking at is April 13th, 2020. So if you go 5 years from then, it'll be April 13th, 2025. So we're giving you a 2-year extension until April 13th, 2027. We had left the rent as is, $1 another good consideration.
We gotta mow the lawn.
You don't have to do it that many years, that time of year.
It's anything like the cemetery, it's 9 times the,
So, any questions?
No.
no, thank you.
No, you know what date I used? Because I didn't have them documents and nobody, it's like we didn't have them. So I took the date that the town board voted to accept your
It
proposal.
was the option agreement date that you
Yeah,
received.
yeah.
Yeah,
So anyway,
so, yep.
I'll make a motion, we accept their proposed first amended property lease agreement.
Can we read that? Can we read that, please?
Second
Sure.
that.
That's the whole thing?
Here, here.
Did everybody read that?
It says Ted mows the lawn.
Line item 6 is wiping out.
Can you
Ted's
blow
house.
that up bigger, Pam? Then people can see it.
Why do we, can we,
No,
Does
I
this have
did
to
not.
be approved tonight? I mean, they offered it to us, I mean, can we wait 30 days?
We've already looked at it and sent back stuff, but you can read it quick. You can read it quick if you want. We can come back to it and end of the item if you want.
Did the board members have any other questions about it?
I don't, I think it looks straightforward, same as what it was.
The majority of the terms remain the same. It's pretty clear cut what we've added to in the original paragraphs.
Yeah.
No, it's,
Did you get bigger? I can
Tom's-
put mine up there if you want.
Tom's
Take
not
yours
here.
down, Pam.
No, I was gonna ask something else, because
Whoop, not that big. Hang on. Let me know when you want me to move it.
Okay.
I can make it a little smaller. Oh, I was gonna ask you, the mowing, you guys had that guy contracted for the year, or do we have to start mowing it?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't know.
Just let us know, so you know.
I will.
Lynn lives really close.
She has a really nice tractor.
She does.
We don't pay well. You've seen that with the tree guy. What do you think you're gonna get for grass?
Now we can discuss it.
Okay, go to the next page for you guys. It's all right.
Can you explain, I just don't understand what item 4 is.
Items that are capitalized mean the same in the First Amendment as they did in the original lease. Just a language.
I don't know what that means either. I don't know what items that are capitalized.
let me see.
Capital letters. Meaning.
Is that what it means, capital
Yeah.
letters?
The thing is, like, when you say landlord is the owner of certain real property, in parentheses, the property.
Oh, that's what that means. Oh, I learn something new every day.
Legal lease term.
Okay.
What does it mean?
It's a legal lease term, so if you're looking at paragraph 1, landlord is the owner of certain real property, and then in parentheses it says, the property, and property is capitalized. And then it's capitalized throughout the rest of the agreement.
So what's the definition?
Thank you.
Do you know if we were to, you know, if they determined that whatever, that this building was no longer habitable and they get the discretion to kick us out of here?
Yeah, there's a,
Is it difficult to get into, you know, Cottage Grove space or St. Lawrence
No.
space to use?
No.
That's how we figure out.
kind of answer that question a little more. They got a part in here. I figured exactly how it's worded, but if the roof fell in, they don't have to fix it. If, you know, if it,
We just need a week notice at the school and we can be in any
yeah,
school we need.
yeah, we go to, yeah, we could get into a school thing in probably a 3-day notice.
Might lose out on our $1 a month, who knows?
Maybe not that.
Yeah, yeah.
Westlake and Township,
Yeah.
when the gentleman in that meeting was talking, Westlake and Township used to hold all their meetings at the junior high school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
$4.25 an hour.
Probably not a little bit since then.
What's that?
Maybe a little bit since then.
No, no, that was last year when I checked up there. Okay, what do you two
We
think?
We had a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion from
What?
anyone?
Oh, All in favor, say
Aye.
aye. Aye.
Alright,
Who seconded that?
I did. I think Dick motioned to accept it and
Thank
he
you.
seconded.
So is Tom happy now we got this done?
It's on vacation.
Oh, okay.
You're still up.
Oh, I am.
The reclamation plan?
Ah, that's us.
I'm not talking
Yeah.
about a reclamation plan.
Come on.
Is that gonna stay on the agenda?
That's
Yeah.
for us to talk about, probably. Yeah. You want to talk about that, Eduardo, or you want me to?
Why don't you give an update and then I'll chime in if anything else.
Okay, reclamation plan. What that means is the pit down here, what we're gonna do with it, or what they're gonna do with it, or what happens to it when they're done mining. Okay, long story short, our zoning ordinance doesn't cover reclamation. It covers the use of the property. The county's ordinances cover reclamation in quite a depth. Well, me and Ted and Dan Roller were at a planning meeting up in Stillwater. When they talked about this, when we left, the planner told me, well, the reclamation's in you guys' hands. Okay, a week later, Tom Schmidt from Holcim says, why don't you come up with a committee or do something in this reclamation thing? Well, okay, so nobody knows what anybody's doing. So we got a hold of the county. Tonight before this meeting, Dan Elder, the county planner, can't remember the lady's name, his boss came, Carla Bigham, Washington County Commissioner. I was there, Pam was there, and Eduardo was there. And we talked about this for about a half an hour or so. And we pretty much came up with the same scenario I told you, who's in charge of what or who can control what. And some discussion took place, and basically they're going to get a hold of Holcim and see what Holcim's got in mind for reclamation. And one of the questions that was answered is, because one of our questions was, concept plan shows that some type of open space or park or something like that. I think it just says concept reclamation plan at this point. Doesn't say who owns it or nothing. So we asked Carla, well, who would own it or who would want it? And she come right out and said, they don't want it for a park. She said, we don't need it, we don't want it, we got a regional park slated for down below. But that's just Carla at this point in time. So as of right now, it's kind of gone nowhere, but county planners are going to get in touch with Holcim and see what they have in mind for the property, and then get us involved and them and whoever else in the world gets involved, because other people that'll be involved is if that lake, if it ends up being a big lake down there like it is now, then it becomes one of the protected bodies of water, and the DNR and MINRA and all these other people get involved with it. So this will be a long, drug-out process. Probably Patty be retired before it happens. Anything else, Eduardo?
I don't think so. I think basically we're trying to coordinate with the county for an updated reclamation plan. They made it clear that we control the zoning, so we've got a significant amount of influence on that process, and that we would like to they want an updated plan. We asked them to have an updated plan in our permit approval for last year. We'll emphasize that again for next year, and they agreed to reinitiate the process.
Yeah, what happened at the county is the county told Holcim their 5-year conditional use permit will be up in about a year and a half. And they told them, when you come back next time, we want to see an acceptable reclamation plan. They didn't go into any detail, but they didn't like the one that they showed up with last time.
Well, I'll just add, that wasn't a full-fledged recommendation.
Right.
It was concept plan, which is what Daniel Elder asked us for
Yeah.
that particular renewal of the CUP. So yes, we will work extensively with the county and with you folks.
Yeah.
And Tom, I think, stated at the meeting that he'd like to get, maybe some, board member, planning commission member, and some neighbors to be involved in, what the township would like to see.
Yeah.
So it is our intention to work with you folks. Rick.
Yeah. What happened is I sent Carla an email, because it was kind of like the county was pushing it off on us, and we don't have full authority, and they have more authority than us, and it's kind of like nobody up there was doing anything on it. So I sent it to our county commissioner as to who should we go to. Well, she got back to me, and then she got a hold of the planners, and that's how the meeting came about. So that's it, unless anybody got any questions.
So, I don't know if I'm just way I struggle with this process, because like my interpretation of this process is that we control the zoning. And I feel like how Tom presented it to us is that they're looking for insight on what the community wants that fits that zoning. So if we're zoned for open space or we're zoned for something, I mean, I feel like we should just have a community conversation, what falls inside of our zoning, what is something we'd like to see, and then just present that to Holcim, like, hey, are you guys interested in somebody doing this or somebody doing that? And not, because I don't think you guys want to spend a bunch of money designing something that nobody wants anyway, like if it's not a park. But the hard part, we don't know who's going to own it.
Right.
And that's probably not in discussion, but if it's zoned open space, I feel like we as a community should be just presenting Holcim with, hey, this is what falls in the ordinance. Are you guys good with putting something towards this, and then work towards, in depth?
That's kind of what'll happen. They're gonna get hold of them and see what they got planned. And just in case people are wondering, the use of the zoned uses of the land right now are residential, parks, and open space type stuff. There's something in there about group homes or something, or some other thing that don't mean much down there, but
The part I don't understand is the disconnect with, I guess, going to the county. I wasn't aware we were gonna try and have meetings and do that stuff, and I mean, I guess I just didn't get that out of our conversations we had, but I guess my concern is that it is our job to zone it. It is our job to, figure out an acceptable use that we would accept, and I think the county's role in it would just be making sure the final plans would meet, county, guidelines.
well, the trouble is, we don't have any reclamation authority.
We don't need that. We have a giant chunk of property that just needs to find something that's in the zoning on what we as a community would want as a future use out of that property. And maybe Holcim likes it, maybe they don't, and they could try and, because no matter what, the property has to fall inside the zoning.
Right.
That's our control of the reclamation. It's not down to the last foot of what grade a bank is or something like that. But I don't see the county's role in this. I feel like it's our job as a community to find out what do we want. And I think that's why Tom wants a group to, I think we need to have a discussion, whether it's at the planning commission with those guys or not, on what do we as a community want? Do we want a park? Don't we want a park? I don't think anyone's interested in a park.
That was part of what was brought up tonight.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll jump to the mic.
Everything you brought up is what's to be talked about in the future.
So good point. None of what you said is inconsistent with what the discussion was. They made it really, really clear that we control the zoning. To a certain extent, they said, you've got the option to control more zoning, if you say so. You've got ordinances, you control them, zoning is part of it. What do you want to add? Because right now, as Dick just said, we've got three types, right? It's zoned right now in one way. How would we like to give consideration to the zoning that we're looking for as part of the plan? So we can certainly control that. We can initiate any internal discussions to say, what do we want within the tools that we've got as it relates to the zoning that we've got available. And if we've got some additional zoning options, we control that too. They made that clear, right? What we don't have is the approval or not approval of that reclamation plan. It's not within our, nobody knocks on our door and says, approve this. It knocks on the county door, and they are open to saying, we will make sure you're consulted and you control the zoning. You're passing that down. So not incompatible with what you're saying at all, and we can have a discussion in which we can, either at the planning commission or as a parallel process, get to your question that says, what do we want within the zoning that we've got, and if what we want is not within the zoning that we control, do we want to add a different zoning, right? There's a couple of things that are a little nebulous, which is the plan that they have is not specific enough on things like what you need to do to manage and maintain what's left, right? That's not specified anywhere, and a park is expensive. So if there's an intent to make it a park and we are the ones that would own it, how does that work? So we've got to sort that out, but again, nothing, trying to clarify with the county who's got authority over what, and how do we make sure that we end up with a good reclamation plan at the end, is what we intended to do. Actually, they asked them to be here to have that discussion, and they did not want to be on a public meeting, so they just wanted to clarify rules of engagement. Knowing that we've got zoning and they've got the CUP approval process, and that the plan that they've got right now is not detailed enough to be sufficient. They know that. They've said, let's come up with a plan, so it's up to us what we want to do. Does that help at all?
Yeah, I guess when I look at the process we kind of have going on, like it feels like we have a long time, but really it's going to be here soon for something this big. And I guess I just get nervous with something like this. It almost feels like it's just getting freelanced a little bit. And I want to make sure like we help shape and direct Holcim to the direction we want, because we don't want them wasting, like I get their plan was a concept plan, but if that's not something that we would really want or accept, it'd be better to try and help shape something that we would approve or would want and work with them instead of just wasting relentless man hours, I guess, trying to get somewhere, when ultimately the county's going to come back to us anyway and say, are you guys good with this reclamation plan? So while we don't have authority of it, they've made it clear they're going to stand with us on it. So
You're right.
I feel like the sooner we can help direct and have conversation and get involved, I don't think there's no deep dives into the cracks on how many feet of water we want left, like none of that yet, but I think, there's just so many options. I've reached out to a couple, there's state programs even for reclamation, like Ducks Unlimited. I've been talking to a group of people, and I'm hoping to try and engage with some of them and just find out options for a big conservatory wildlife or something, or, there's state funding stuff that even just takes care of that. But we have to decide as a community, I think, sooner than later on what do we want to see there in that zoning, and see if we can get aggregate to meet on the same page with that. And then, I'd rather be ahead of it instead of trying to we're going to end up at that time and they're going to be presenting something. I think we'll just run out of time too quick. But I think we should make an effort to engage with aggregate, but I think we need to, I don't know how we have that conversation with our whole community to find out what people would like, that falls inside there's not a lot of things that can fit inside our zoning ordinance. But I guess
that's just it. You don't have a lot of options. So unless we want to, what you're suggesting is that we engage in a full sort of planning process in order to sort all that out. Just Dick brought to the table how many different entities may have a stake at this or may be interested in having that conversation. Just conversing with all of them and opening that up and making sure that their input or proposals are understood, and the mining company is going to understand that that's an option. That just takes time, and nobody's trying to drag their feet, but it was kind of clarifying with them, hey, this came up at the planning commission last month, what do we do? Let's clarify with county. County clarification is done. They said you control zoning, we do the CUP, we want a new one in, so now we just got to get to work. But there's a lot of potential cooks in the kitchen, so.
Yeah, you got to keep in mind that in all reality, legally, right now, the way it stands, all we control is the zoning. What it can be used for, what it says in our zoning, that's it. That's legally, we stop there as of right now. The reclamation of it all lands with the county. They got total control over the reclamation. Okay, that was pointed out at our meeting, everybody agreed on that, and then they did say, well, you could change your zoning. Well, yeah, we talked about that a little bit, but then they said, well, you might end up getting taken to court if you change the zoning where the landowner doesn't like it. So that's a gray area. They said, we suggest you talk to your attorney before you do that. So that's pretty much where it's at. I think what you're asking for is going to happen. This is just the start of it, to drag people to the table and get the talking going. It's basically up to Holcim to come along with a reclamation plan, something that they propose, and they'll bring it to the county, and the county said for sure they'll engage us in the conversation as what's going on. And the only thing they said they didn't want, and that was just one person, was Carla said they didn't need another park here because they're working on their park down here. But that don't mean she wouldn't change her mind, or The DNR might want it for a park, or Friends of the Mississippi, or Minra, or
So how
God
do we,
knows who,
I
National
guess-
Park Service.
I guess sitting here now, we're on month 2 of Holcim reaching out to us, asking to engage in a group and find out what our community wants. And all we continue to do is tell them it's not in our hands, we don't control it. So how do we engage in that process when they're
Well,
reaching
no,
to
that
us?
ain't, no, that ain't what Tom told me. Tom
Well,
told
that's
me
what-
to
He wants
get,
to get a group going.
Tom said get a group going, get people going on a reclamation thing, and that's what we're doing. We called the county down there, well, we didn't call Patty, we left her home, and we met with him just to get the thing going.
So is it a,
Tom didn't ask us, what do you want it to be? He said, get a group going on something on reclamation. That's where we're going.
So can you schedule a public meeting to have
So-
a discussion?
Well, we could, but I would ask this, what would that accomplish?
You would find out what we would like to see it and what they would like to see it, and anybody that is interested in what the land is going to become, what their ideas might be. And you might find consensus, and you might find.
We could do that, but we could do that, but we can't.
At the moment, what I'm hearing is you don't know that answer. You know your personal answers.
No, I'm going by the ordinance.
I think.
And just, I mean, if the whole, say the whole,
He's saying we need community input. You're saying we need a group discussion. It's the same thing. You need the group. Call a public meeting, and that's the group.
okay, if the public meeting came along and said, we want to make it,
We desire, because you have to make it clear that the public meeting is not setting policy. It is a survey of desire.
well, we could do that, but
Right.
that don't mean we can force them to do it, is what I'm getting at.
I think it puts us in stronger footing if when we start meeting with the county, with these other things, that we have a united voice and a strong preference that's listed, that we're not showing up to those meetings, and we're like, we're just here as a listening session. That we're like, we've thought about this, we've talked about it as a community, these are some of the ideas, and you know, maybe some other ideas that we thought about, but disregarded because it opened up too many pitfalls, so we can go to those meetings and have some hopefully meaningful input, understanding that we're not the final
That's
decision maker.
That's really what they were talking about doing tonight. What you're talking about doing is what they proposed. Isn't that
So-
right, pretty much, Eduardo?
Yeah, well, so I would say that that is, what you're saying is not incompatible with what the board can do. I mean, this is a great discussion, in my opinion. Today, we just clarified on their request to not be having that discussion in a public meeting, the boundaries, right? And if we, and that's a bit of your decision, if you want to solicit public input in a hearing mode, you can do it at this level, you can do it on the planning side. It's entirely up to us how we solicit input. But the options are not wild and crazy. It's like, do you want housing? Do you want park? Do you want untouched land, or a combination? And I mean, from my perspective, where it gets a little bit complicated is that all those options would probably have different ownership by the community, because it's not our land. Okay? So it means that we gotta invoke other parties that may have either a say or a stake or an interest. And combining that input, it's a little bit more than just having an input session. And how to do that is, in my opinion, a byproduct of a planning process. So we could sit down with the mining and say, give me a proposal for a planning process that is going to include input from all those entities and us. And the output of it, we want to approve.
Right, but we don't even know our own input to that.
I get it.
And that's what we need to get.
I understand.
so, I guess for me, just going into this next month then, instead of everyone sitting there, I guess for me, no freelancing, but would it be appropriate then that maybe I engage with Tom this month and try and get clarity on what is his reasoning for this meeting? What process does he want to see, and just find clarity on what they're trying to get from us, so at least somebody's working towards something. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page when we're reaching out, when we're doing things. I think community input's going to be huge, but we got to find out, is that what you know, that's how I took Tom's presentation to me, was that they're willing to put together a plan and do the work, but they just want to know what, you know, here's what we can do and what kind of shapes and things do we want to get into this so they don't waste it. But I feel like we need to get some clarity from Holcim on what they're looking for and meet at the table instead of just dragging
That's
on.
what the county is gonna do. That's
But I
what
don't
the
think,
county's-
that's where I don't want the county there. That's I don't have a reason for the county. I have a community and it's our job to zone it. And I think if Holcim's willing to work with our community, it skips the step of rejection and extra work and all that stuff. If we can work directly with them on, you know, the big idea of what's gonna be down there, then they can do a rough draft and then get into that stuff.
You know, so I've been using this word incompatible. I think what you're suggesting is completely fine. In my opinion, okay? But we needed clarity on roles, and we got that today. And the county's gonna do what the county's gonna do. And they're gonna talk to the mining company, and one of the things they're gonna say is, we want a new plan, it's gotta comply with the reclamation plan, steps 1 through 10, which they don't have. You've got a concept that we don't have a plan, so you get a plan, and you involve the township. If we engage with Holcim, Tom or whoever, to say, give us a proposal on how you intend to manage that input, we're off to the races.
Yeah.
So our activity with the mining company is gonna be compatible with what the county's asking us to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So
I don't want them to get,
I mean,
because their plan that they have right now, it's not being passed because it doesn't have enough detail in it. And I just don't want the county to step in and say, here's the details, we gotta fill this in and try and keep going that route if that's something that, if we get a say in it, maybe we don't want another park down here, the county doesn't want it, so it's probably not a direction of what would happen, but.
That
Yeah.
makes total sense. So, I mean, I can't weigh in on to who within the board, or if you want to have me engage Tom and say, give us a plan on how you're gonna gather that input, but not just the community, but other entities that may have a stake, and then we wanna know what they will do, right? So if you wanna engage directly, it just cannot be all of you at the same time. Who takes the baton to talk into Tom to say, what's your plan? What would be the plan? And hopefully it's not, well, let's sit around and talk.
So are you
It's got
two-
some kind of procedure to it, and somebody that can put a plan in front of us.
Are you two fine with me, because we can talk right now, are you two fine with me engaging with Tom and trying to get a little more detail on it?
Yeah,
Is
if
that-
he could get a little more detail with it, you know, if they're gonna extend that road, you know, to the east,
Yep.
that's a big one.
Okay. Dick?
That's not part of the reclamation plan for
No.
that pit.
No. But then, my question for Eduardo is, do you think they are going to ultimately sell it, or does it revert back to the township?
It's their property right now.
Well, I know it
And then-
is. Once
then-
it's mined,
Section, yep, you got it. I mean,
Then-
Section
what-
now
yeah.
says what is the maintenance and support agreement. That's one of the plan deliverables which they haven't fulfilled. So the answer is we don't know.
Well, I'll take initiative and reach out with Tom and try and get some information to help guide so that we're pushing things forward and not eating the clock,
yeah,
wasting the clock.
because if they're done mining, my understanding is they just pack up and leave.
No, they don't do it.
They reclaim
Well,
it.
they got the reclamation.
They have a plan of reclamation. They also have a bond. They've got money at stake, and they're a responsible company. I don't think that they're just gonna pick up and go. So I think that would be fine, and I would just articulate it of, can you draft an outline for the way by which you're gonna solicit input? And then he can say, okay, I would like to have 4 meetings in which I'm going to be inviting these parties in order to, or I would like to have, what's his plan? And I think that my read is that our activity in that area to decide what is it that we would like them to put into the reclamation plan is not incompatible with what the county is doing. Just bringing it back and say, we're gonna plan by this time, we're gonna make sure it fills all this amount of detail, and you make sure the township is part of it.
So,
Yeah.
Well, in all honesty, I think if everybody's getting too excited over something that's gonna play out over a period of time. The county has not eliminated us or pushed us off to the side or gonna do this without us, or Holcim's gonna do it without us. Keep in mind, if a couple of us wouldn't have been up at the county, nobody would know where we're at right now. If we wouldn't have reached, and when they did their 5-year CUP, we sent them in some requirements that we wanted, they put them in there. When I called Carla, she got the planners together, they came down here. When they're down here tonight, they said they're gonna include us in the reclamation plan. They're not gonna leave us sit by the side, they're not gonna do it without us. They're gonna get back to us, and as of tonight, what they were gonna do is get a hold of Tom, probably be Patty, and see what they had in mind and where they wanna go. But if you wanna talk to Tom, that's fine. But it don't matter, because Tom's gonna end up down at the county talking to them anyway. Nobody's being left out, nobody's told them what they can't do. This whole thing is gonna get public input. Nothing's being done on the sly. The county's been very good to us on everything we've ever asked them to do. Like I said, they wouldn't have came down here tonight. Their head planner, the planner under him, county commissioner come down. I don't know what more you can ask out of the people.
No, that's, the only thing I'm looking out for, Dick, is that Tom came to us 2 months ago and we've done nothing to.
Yes, we have.
engage-
Don't say we haven't done
Well,
anything. That's
I'm
why I
saying
called the county down.
for
here.
him, he wants to set up something and engage, so I
That's
just
what we're
wanna
doing.
get clarity.
That's exactly what I'm doing
Yep.
with the county. Tom asked to set up meetings, get people involved. That's what's happening.
So then the only other question I have is, do we wanna try for, I mean, it may matter and it may not with community outreach, but do we
Well,
wanna
sure,
try
sure.
and put something for, I mean, do we just have things printed out with a couple different bullet points when people come to the annual
What-
meeting and they can circle it for a survey or something, or?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
We don't know what it'll come to, but we should probably try and get something.
That'd be fine, because that's one of the things they brought up down here is, when we reach out to the townships, what does the township want done with it? And what would they like done? Keeping in mind, we don't have control over what they do to it. We can give input to it, but we don't have the control over it unless we change our zoning. Because if you read our zoning thing, it's real clear. It can be houses, open space, parks, and a few other things. We can't come along and say we want, something specific.
I think if we just had those,
Should we like succinctly summarize what you say, that we don't have ultimate control, and have Pam email the community and see and solicit different, I've actually thought about this, and we might
Sure.
find some really good ideas.
Just so people,
Garbage, I'm sure.
just
well, I
so,
think if we're gonna reach out, cause there's only 4 or 5 things it really can be, and we may not get it, but I think we just need to have a A, B, C, D and circle, because
Yeah.
we don't wanna read through 200 emails of everybody's opinions. We all got them, but it just needs, it's gonna be a pretty basic concept when we get into further stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
no, I think that's fine. They asked for that. What would Grey Cloud like to see it be? Not meaning we have the control over what it would be. Keep two different things in mind there. What, the wish list and the property owner's rights. Unless we rezone it. And that's questionable. That we pay Mr. Snyder for again.
I think one of the items on the plan would be your plan for community engagement. That way, they can put a plan together. They've got leeway on gathering community engagement that we don't. Because we gotta call meetings and put regulations and so on. They can throw a barbecue for a week here. So what's the way by which they're planning to do community engagement? And we can say, we like that, or we don't like that. This is good, this is bad. Plan on related governmental units that need to be consulted. When are you going to talk to Deanna? When are you going to? So, which way do they plan to put a plan together?
Well, just an example. Let's just say most of the public come back and said, we want it all open space, because that's one of the uses down there. And that's what the majority of the people want. And Holcim come along and said, that's fine with us, we'll leave it open space. Great, okay. But if Holcim comes back and says, okay, you want it open space, you willing to buy it? Ooh, we got a pretty small checkbook. Carla can say we don't want a park. What if all the people in the township come back and say we want a park? We can say we like a park. Holcim could come back and say, oh, you want a park? Get your checkbook out. So it's pretty much riding on them to make a proposal and present it to the county, pretty much it goes to the county, then it comes to us. As long as it meets our zoning, we have input into it, but we don't have control over it. That's about as simple as you can get.
To that end, Dan, that is why Tom reached out and said, we want to talk to you guys. So I think if we would do the reach out to him, I don't know when they're going to reach out
All right,
He's out for us to this week's application with his family, and next week he's back.
perfect.
For school Monday morning, 7 a.m.
6, perfect. Thanks, Dan. Yeah.
No.
All right, tree trimming?
We're done with that for now.
Are we gonna get
Did
it?
Lynn have something she wanted to say real quick?
Well, you said for this, what we're talking.
Well, tree trimming, I thought you were gonna say something to that guy
tree
before he
trimming,
left.
Yeah. So have we looked into any kind of grants to get rid of the buckthorn that they will pay? There, Minnesota Department of Agriculture, there's a Washington County Conservation District, there's something called Midwest Invasive Plants Network, conservation grants through the DNR, the USDA. There's all kinds of money out there to get rid of buckthorn. And it's not just cutting it down and then when it sprouts back up, mowing it over again, because that does not get rid of buckthorn. I've gone through it with my property. You have to pull it out by the roots, and even then, it still travels and it'll come up somewhere else. You have to poison it.
Lynn, I drink beer and watch my goats eat it. It's just fine.
Well, yeah, I know.
It's done.
But still, it's not dead.
Yeah.
It'll still come back.
Yeah, no, it don't. Come on over.
Okay, well.
They root it up.
We can't
But
put
yeah, no.
goats on the road.
So I think where that has to start, in my opinion, is us figuring out, because the buckthorn's not right on the road. The buckthorn's 6 feet in, 5 feet in,
Yes.
and that's for us as a township to figure out. I didn't realize we were trying to stretch this out to 15 feet or any of that stuff, but
Yeah.
I think we have to just have more, and I don't know if that'll happen at the planning commission, or where do we want to have a input on that kind of direction?
But what I just want to say is there's a lot of
We-
money out there available.
We got a
Yeah.
weed inspector.
Yeah, I have also.
Get over. We could,
Can we spray that stuff once a year?
no, we're not doing chemicals in the township.
No chemicals in the township.
No.
You
Yeah.
have to cut it and then paint
Paint
stuff.
it. It's very
The
manual,
little ones you have to pull out.
labor intensive.
We could, I mean, I could email Rick Hansen, he's really good with all that stuff, he'd be our, he always forwards that kind of stuff, but I think it starts with, I don't know. My opinion is not to rip open 15 feet of roadway because it would change our island drastically, but that's just I'm just one person, so.
Yeah, we're not Lakeland or
Yeah,
whatever he was
yep.
talking about. Yeah.
We like dangerous roads, keep it slow. Anything else on tree trimming?
Who does our mowing?
Bulo, Bulo?
Bulow?
Bulo? And we are, I'm gonna meet with another guy here this week to get another bid, but, I mean, that's how many people did you call, Dick?
Well, just him.
Just him? So
Yeah.
we need to, and it's so hard to reach out to people, but we need to find a way to get more bids, more engagement somehow.
Well, it gets tough too to compare apples to apples.
Yeah.
What one person's gonna do versus another one's gonna do. You know, unless you got a clear, you know, Geneva would be a good one. You know, we own 66 foot of road. We want it cleared right away to right away up. Well, okay, that's simple. All these other roads, they call them prescriptive roads where, you know, your property line goes out to the middle of the road. You know, I got a nasty gram from Eric Folsom on that triangular corner over there. You know, he was gonna call me back and never did, but I mean, people's property runs out. But then there's state law that allows you to go so far to maintain the road for sight lines, signs, what have you. So, gets to be kind of a gray area.
So what's our step this month to get a black and white? Here's what we want as a community, so it's black and white to get apples to apples compared. Is that discussion gonna happen at the next planning commission on Monday?
For
Or
what now? Trees
Do we
or?
want 4 feet vertical cut straight up? Do we want 10 feet vertical straight up? We need to have as a community a black and white. We can't, you know, whatever we're gonna do, we can't. I don't like, when I read through that contract, I don't like where feasible, I mean, we just went over that road bill last time by 20 grand.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's something we would have with more bodies at the planning commission to help where we stop that roadway, or is that something we just need to get that, so if I bring a guy around this week, it can be black and white. If we wanna call this guy and say, hey, we decided we want 4 foot or 5 foot off the road vertical up, what's your new price? Instead of having, I don't think any of us are paying 50 grand, I don't,
Yeah, well, it's kind of whatever you can come up with if you meet with a guy, you know. This guy had cut he told me he'd cut his back about 20,000
Right.
too if we just
yeah.
go out a little ways and straight up, you know. just a question of what you want. You just want it trim back, cut back, call her good for now and bring them back every 2 years, or? He was trying to make it so it's easier to mow, so it's cheaper in the long run, so.
All right. Well, all right.
And you could call this guy back too. If you call somebody else, go ahead and call this Matt back and say,
Yep. Anything else on tree trimming?
No,
I'm gonna meet with another guy, yeah.
Next week?
Yep.
Okay. It looks like something was trimmed along here.
That's all county roads, so they came and did that, yeah.
That looks nice.
Yep.
well, that's, that,
no, it doesn't.
No, I'm kidding.
Right.
It's not high enough.
They didn't do a good job.
Yeah, they didn't take, and that's the hard part, because all that buckthorn comes from way wide and then it reaches out. Well, you vertical it, like Dick said, it's gonna just keep wanting to reach out, but then you gotta, how far do you keep pushing in, because it's gonna keep reaching, so it's a hard thing to control. But I think the thing we all look for is that 16-foot clearance, because when all that snow came, everything came in and just, we are a tiny little township now. All right, roads?
oh, you got some more prices, that's about all we got.
So roads, I got, took Pine Bend paving out, we got prices to redo Pioneer, 105th, and 99th. I don't know, you guys should have those in your packets. We'll talk about this stuff at the annual meeting, and then, I did meet with Bitimuous, I don't know how you say that one, but he was hoping within 2 weeks to have another, quote come in, and that would be for full tear up and redo of those roads. I think they'd reclaim the one, we had it in the scope, but we are hoping to have some numbers at the annual meeting for that, to try and redo a road next year. And then with roads, I don't know what you two think, but I still would really like to maybe try and see if we can hit the brakes on that $17,000 patch stuff, just because our intent is to redo roads next year, but obviously not all of them would get done, but if we pick the worst one and cut that bill way down. I think Pioneer was the most expensive on the spray patch, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, maybe we can get a short quota on it and put that 10 grand we saved towards that road cost.
we
I
could
know
do
it's
it,
not the best thing to do to a contractor, but at the same time, it hasn't been done.
well, another thing too, if you live on that road though, you might not be overly thrilled to have somebody say we're not filling our potholes.
I think if you told people on Pioneer that you're getting a brand new road next year, it's your last winter of a
Yeah,
couple things, they might be happy.
Yeah, can you,
And that stuff's gonna come up to the annual meeting, cause you guys are gonna look at a giant tax increase to either pay for this stuff, or we save 12 grand for 6 months of driving through the snow, which the ice is gonna fill it anyway. But I'm just a plumber, my opinion, and it was from the beginning, was to not spend that kind of money and just, let's get new roads. Let's quit spending 50 grand a year on patching stuff when they're all beyond that point. Our treasurer says we got the money for it, so.
I think if you make that trade-off, the Pioneer crew will be more than happy. Wait a little bit and get it done right. That would be my just gut instinct and knowing everybody back there.
how much was the Pioneer for both parts, or just the blacktop part? What was his cost
His
there?
quote, Pioneer was 181.
That was for all
So
of
basically if you guys didn't look, Pioneer ends up being like 182,000. And then my thought would be 105th and 99th happening together, that would basically be 190,000 roughly. They're about equal roads, so, everything goes good with our budget and annual stuff, then hopefully we could do Pioneer next year and then turn around and catch the next two the year after, but we'll see how the annual meeting goes.
You're not paving gravel, are you?
No gravel, it would maintain the same, same footprint for what it is.
Well, and keep in mind the price that guy gave us, he also gave us a price of 7,000 to do patching, and it came back 25 or 26,000 when he did it, so.
This ain't our patching guy, this guy.
This is.
You got a different patching crew.
Oh, no, well,
Pine Bend Paving that did our patching, we approved a budget, and then a couple people went out and sprayed more stuff and never got a contract for the work, and then we got stuck with a giant bill.
Well, I think he
So
kinda,
this is
I think he was off by about
This is,
500%.
and this is what we have to make sure we're doing, and it's a black and white contract, there's no. you
Except
know
he
what
says
we're
it's
getting.
an estimate on there. He says you gotta rebid it next year.
All right, Dick.
So that,
This is how they send out contracts. This quote is budgetary actual price, and it says all right in there if their price of materials go up. It's bid at this
Yeah.
price, and you let us know.
so it's not a fixed price. We'd have to
And we're
get a
gonna get-
rebid next year.
And we're gonna get another bid, but yes.
Well, I don't know, I don't mind not doing Pioneer if you were gonna do blacktop it next year.
I just think it's worth, just sending an email, and if they bark back, and then we have to think about it, but they just may say, okay, and not even see anything about it.
Who are you talking to, Frank,
That-
you mean?
For that, yeah.
I don't care, that's fine with me. Residents put up with some potholes for.
Pam, you wanna do the dirty
another
work?
year.
Send them an email?
See what he says. This would be.
The third
We
time.
may lose, yeah, this will be the second time that we will tell him we don't want him to do it. We'll probably lose him as a future.
I know that we've had trouble
Contract.
finding that. I know that second crew that I brought around, but whatever, that B word, Bitimia, whatever, they do everything too. So hopefully, you know, we need to find one-stop shops, but reliable, but yeah.
Geez, that bituminous guy told me they didn't do blacktop, he used to just do parking lots, he told me. That's what he told me. So all we do is,
They do all kinds of roads.
that, yeah.
It's called bituminous roadways, isn't it?
Yeah, he told me all we do is parking lots. That's what he told me, yeah.
All right. Well, that's where that's at.
So that what we're gonna do is have Pam call Frank and cancel Pioneer?
Yeah, I think we should
Okay.
just try, I think so.
All right, sounds fine.
Well, we don't have any other here, so we got a other next. So Eduardo and the Hoyts, can we talk a little bit about yours? No, they're, yeah.
Oh, wait a minute, what about other?
What do you
We
got?
got another
That's
other
new business.
at the
Never mind.
end.
Sorry.
Yeah, I guess
I got both
I don't have
lines.
any additional comments.
Yeah.
Good.
Yep.
Well, but we can't pick this one entirely, and we can't pick this one entirely.
The planning commission gave their, input.
On which one?
We can still discuss. Well, they,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
I'm fine with the 5 feet from the property line. But I'm not fine with the 5 feet from the mound. It's gotta be 15.
Then we are pushing the garage downhill and
Yeah.
causing the driveway to get a really funny shape.
So if
Well,
you
you
went
can't-
15,
Yeah, you can't be 5 feet from the mound.
I'd be curious, I guess, just to ask if you reached out to a septic person or anyone just to ask. I mean, I don't know, but that seems really close to an expensive system, but.
Well, it's been that way for 30
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
Yeah,
Existing garage is, There.
They built it that way.
yeah, they built the mound after the garage. But
I mean, the hard part, we have state statute to fall with a variance, and, I mean, it's been very lackadaisical in previous years, and, but it's pretty hard if there's not hardship, you know, like, what is your primary reason for the 15, to scoot it closer, I guess, just to gain more yard space, or
well,
what?
it's to gain the ability to easily get between the garage and the house to access the side yard propane tank.
So instead of going around the garage, and it wouldn't be a very good pathway around on that new 15 feet you'd have, you wouldn't be able to just go around the garage, or
The propane tank.
right on the end of your house there?
The propane tank is,
Give me an opportunity to find me some reasons why it's not feasible.
the propane tank is here.
It can't go around.
Well, they don't,
There is hill coming down from the house, and there is hill, the existing gravel driveway to the existing garage is right here. Right up next to the mound. and this is a downhill slope. All the water from this area runs through here on my property and down towards the lake. If I push this to within, it'd be about 17 feet of the house.
So right where
I
your
think I've
pinky
done-
is, right where your pinky just was there,
No,
that's
no,
your.
it would be 5 feet.
No, I
from
mean,
the
right there,
property.
that's your main water drainage way is what you're telling me?
That's the main water drainage way for this part of the land.
So if we pushed it to the
This
normal,
part
it'd affect your
drains that way.
water.
So, yeah, so you're gonna concentrate the water here, rather than giving it the wide berth it's used to.
Well, but
I
you, but you
currently don't have an existing
have,
erosion issue.
you can still do the 5 feet from the property line.
What does that look like if you did 5 feet from the property line and that's just more
It
fill to
looks-
bring in?
It looks
We
like
can
this.
treat these two separately. Let's separate these two parts of the variance into two parts. One, distance from the property line.
5 feet,
You're okay with, are you?
Yeah, I'm
are all
fine
three
with
of you
5
okay with
feet.
5 feet?
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
but not
So-
5
For the
feet
water.
So,
from the
so that's
tank.
part one.
Yeah,
Part two is from the mound. And that's pushing it, so yes, so if this comes back 5 feet or 10 feet, that opens up this to what it used to be, which probably takes water out of,
yeah,
and now it's just downhill. So put the garage
yeah, 5,
here,
well,
it's still, the driveway is coming around the house to get enough room to drive into the stall.
It's annoying, but it's not.
It's
So-
not as bad. And there's gonna be more fill required here to bring that grade up for the driveway. I'm not
no.
trying to get an economic hardship
No.
because actually moving it back is going to cost
That-
more, and I'm fine with that.
I guess the concern I have is with the, I'm pretty sure there's state guidelines on how far back from, obviously it's already there and it works. But I think for digging and everything, we just looked up state statutes on it and it's saying like 20 feet from a drain field, but
It's because your mom came after your garage.
how soon are you looking to start digging?
I would like to release the contract next week.
Okay. I guess that's the part that I'd be nervous with is allowing it too close to the, septic field against state law with a new structure.
What's the state call for septic?
Well, we just looked it
it's
up.
the count, it's the county,
Oh, county, okay, what's the county require?
20 feet from
Yeah, from the-
Is it 20 feet from the drain field or 20 feet from the toe of the drain
Tank.
field?
It says 20 feet from the absorption area of the drain field, whatever that is.
This is
Yeah.
the toe. I think the absorption area is at center.
Yeah, so there's a little question about which part is, you'd follow there then.
Okay, what if we change this, leave this 15, change that to 5?
the, I'm fine with that. That'll work.
What are you gonna do? No?
So just keep 15 feet from the septic and 5 feet from the property line.
Right,
5
so this would slide back. I'd still have a weird driveway
It'll
and
slide
deal with the hill.
back, yeah.
Give me a second, I didn't.
No, we still, like Dan said, like I
Well,
mailed
I
you,
didn't give you that picture.
Yeah, you did give me.
No, I gave you 5, 5, and 15,
No, you
15.
don't have it. Oh, yeah.
I don't have a 5, 15.
My concern would be liability against that thing with the state. I mean, I'm all for the 15 feet, but on a legal standpoint,
on variance request in
Right.
the state,
right.
yeah. I emailed you all them
No,
statues
It's-
and all
it's-
that
It's the
stuff.
county that does that,
That's the septic, we're talking about
Yeah.
the variance part.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
got it.
the variance from the side yard. We gotta have a good reason to, we can't approve a variance just because we want to.
We think they got a really good one here.
Well, I think the 5 feet helps the drainage. To me, that's that's a reasonable request to tighten that up so water can drain through the property appropriately.
The 5 foot gives him 27 feet between the house and that
Yep.
building, and the other way gives him 17.
Yeah, we don't want the side, leave the side at 5.
And that buds up to trees and all that stuff. It's not any encroachment on the neighbor's property or none of that stuff.
Well, the neighbor said he didn't care, which.
Right.
But the thing is, we can't just approve it tonight, we gotta have a variance hearing. So for you to start next week is a no-no. Because we gotta have a variance hearing, you gotta publish it, you gotta have the hearing and all that good stuff.
Tell me what I need to do.
Okay. Well, we'll try and get a little consensus up here first, of what we wanna do here.
I feel like we should get something from a septic person, because just with the county rule of 20 feet, that's hard to put a stamp on something
there-
that's
I think
inside of a
there-
drain field.
They're more concerned about a 40-year-old mound.
Well, one thing is, like, he brought up a good point, the building was there before the mound, so they built a mound that close to the house.
40 years ago. They weren't,
40 years ago.
they weren't,
The building, I meant, the mound ain't 40 years old.
It's 30 at least.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay, all right.
I mean, it's a new one. It was done by the county.
It was built by the county septic.
Yeah,
It's
how
down there.
long ago? Just out of curiosity.
30,
Oh,
I
it's,
think.
is it?
well, that's been there a
is it
long time.
limestone that you have underneath?
I don't know the makeup of the mound. I'm sure it's in the records over here.
Yeah, okay,
I mean, there's limestone underneath everything on our property.
yeah.
Well,
I
that's
was
not the
able to,
amount.
I
That's
was
what
just
we want.
able to get a septic system. I had to move it. And it's a drain field. It's not a mound.
If you push it to 20, the garage is gonna be too far behind the house, and it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean,
I can't.
it's a personal thing, I agree 100%. I'd let you go 10, but it's, yeah, it's hard to,
Yeah, we can't.
I don't know, I'm not a septic
Take
guy,
10,
you know,
take
right?
15.
Yeah.
20 is gonna kill the garage, and you're gonna sit with a decrepit garage till it falls over, which it is starting to do.
I mean, I think
It
that,
has a list.
yeah.
Is it leaning toward Jerry's?
No, it's leaning towards the lake.
Oh, shucks, okay, no, I'm just kidding.
And it's going to stay that way until it falls.
Because I can't improve it, because it's over.
What would we,
So you guys think we could get by on the 5 foot on the side setback with
15.
requirements from the
That's what
state?
we can do
Well,
that.
that was approved from
Yeah, because it's
No,
the drainage.
That's part of the variance, so the variance has to.
Yeah.
The way I see it with the reading of the variance would be that water running through the property, if we were to close that gap up, it's gonna change the flow of the,
That's,
I think that
I think
works.
that's what I'd use for an
Yeah.
excuse
thinking
too.
of shortening it up to 10 feet.
And there is that
No.
little caveat in our ordinance that said if it's in the best interest of
right.
the public, that letter F or whatever it is.
Yeah, letter F.
So if
Okay.
we-
So now the only question we got, us
15,
three, we're all happy with the 5 foot from the side setback?
Yeah,
Okay, so now we just gotta argue about the septic system. Okay. Now, you said that requirement was 20 feet, right?
It's from the drain field, so that should be, I mean, if he's going 15 from the,
Oh,
to me, it should be
From
fine.
the absolute edge.
Yeah.
Of
And the field's up top, so.
the septic.
Well, I'm asking what the requirement is.
How deep are the leach tubes?
Probably 2, 3 feet at the most. 2 feet.
Yeah, they're about 30 inches
yeah, they're not
in the
very
mound.
deep.
Can dig down, you hit fabric and,
They're a few more feet up.
yeah.
So give me
No,
that-
they're not where, yeah.
So give me,
Yep.
Because
You're gonna
we are
have
doing it
off the
from
side is, yeah,
absolute
bottom.
edge
Yep.
Of the hill.
the bottom of the hill.
Which there's,
The bottom of the hill.
there's easily gonna be 5 feet.
Flattens out to my gravel driveway, and that's where the south line of the septic mound is from.
So tell me again that number. From the drain
So-
fields is what?
20 feet, but their drain field would probably be 5
No, what's
to
the
8
state
feet in.
statute? What's the
20
state?
feet from the drain field.
Okay.
But
Well,
like they're
he-
saying is the drain field's in, the hill is the slope coming down to it, which is gonna eat up 5 feet anyway, so
Yeah.
I'd be good with the 15.
Yeah.
So what would they need to do to push through?
So
if
he
we all
just
agree
needs a
on that?
variance for the side setback.
Yep.
Okay.
So we have
Everybody
to hold
happy with
a-
that?
Do
Now
we
we're
have
happy
to
with the
hold a-
septic, we're happy with the 5 foot?
Yeah.
Everybody's happy and smiling? Okay. All right. So now you gotta now we gotta have a variance hearing.
Can we have a variance hearing today?
No, because we gotta post it for X amount of days. I
So
think so.
So next
could
week,
we, could they apply for a permit and stuff? I mean, is there any reason they couldn't go in for a
I
permit?
would wait till they get the
Well,
approval.
they've already done that. They got, well, he's applied for a variance permit and everything.
So what do we need to post? Do we, Yeah.
Pam's gotta put it in the paper, a variance hearing, and
I don't have, well, I have various application.
So are we doing that before next meeting, or do we wanna come in 2 weeks? What's the post period? Do we wanna hammer it out for
10
them?
days, I don't know,
Yeah.
I have to look at those, I don't recall.
Yeah.
I haven't done any hearings.
Does it need to be,
My vast experience of being.
That would,
Does
the
that need to-
earliest we would have it would be Friday,
What?
next Friday.
It's not 10 days.
do we need it televised or anything? I mean, I can run in here for 5 minutes to approve it if you guys wanna do
No,
that.
she can record it and,
Friday is only 9 days.
oh, so maybe Monday,
Monday the 21st.
yeah.
And what if it's not 10 days? I don't even know where to look at the phone.
Follow the regulations. I am not trying to sidestep regulations.
We understand.
10 business days is 10 business days, if that's what's required, that's what we'll do.
well, we're not sure, we're trying to figure that out.
Well, Pam would have to post it anyway, so we can figure that out and then you can post it, right?
I could post it, but we could possibly set a date for the hearing. I
here's-
could post it tomorrow. Well, no. It can't be Monday because if I ask them to post it, they would post the following day, hopefully. So it'd have to be, the earliest would have to be Tuesday.
Posting has to be.
So if I ask them
paper,
tomorrow,
Or could posting be blind carbon copy to all residents of email? I
To
don't
be
know what posting is.
published in
anymore.
a paper,
That's a very gray area for us, yeah.
Pioneer Press
Right,
has to be there.
so,
9 whole days, 10 whole days.
okay.
Right.
I have a suggestion for the board that at some point in the future, they consider revising the posting requirements.
State
and
law.
add-
State
And add
law.
an electronic option. We'll work to get an electronic option. How many Pioneer Presses are delivered to the township anymore?
That's state law. I like your idea, state law. Let's figure out how many days we gotta have, because here's what I'd suggest. Figure out
The
when,
23rd of August.
Let's
It's
figure out-
Wednesday and it's more than enough.
well, hang
days.
on. We gotta get the number of days for sure.
I know, but that's the thing, it's enough days. It's enough days that even if she does it tomorrow and it comes in on Thursday, that it goes in, it'll be enough days.
We're not sure of the number of days yet, though.
I'm pretty
She
sure
has to confirm
it's
it.
10 or less. It's 10 or less days. I know that, okay?
Is that business days or including weekends? See, that's what.
Business.
I think it's business. So exclude the late weekend.
Well, anyway, here's what I was thinking. Figure out when we're gonna have this variance hearing. We'll continue the town board meeting to that night to do it at the same time. Otherwise, we can have the variance hearing. I guess we could approve the permit at the variance hearing, couldn't we?
Well,
Well, you could approve the permit tonight, and the variance can just change
Well,
where I place it.
no, you gotta get a hold of her, cause
I just can't pick up the phone right now.
have you got permit applications to send to our contractor?
I can't hear you talking.
Can you get permit applications? Is that how it works to get a permit?
He's got,
We've
I filed
done,
the permit
we've filed a
application.
permit application.
It should be in your packet, along with the variance
I don't have it.
request.
I have not put it into the min spec because
Not approved.
it's not approved. I can't do that till it's approved, and you can't do that until you have a meeting, variance.
Right, the min spec is gonna want detailed drawings of the building, which I'm not willing to pay for until I have permission to build the building.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think we should just tentatively Wednesday, August 23rd, variance hearing, what, 6:30?
I might not be.
the way I read it in here, Pam, it's 10 days.
Okay, so 23rd is only 9 days.
That's
So if I called them tomorrow, or if I arranged tomorrow with them, for them to post it the next day, okay, that would be the 11th. So you have to start from the 11th,
That's 24th we're out too.
excluding weekend.
Yeah.
Why don't we just have the variance hearing before the next town board meeting?
Well, he's in a bigger hurry than that.
That's in September.
Yeah, I mean, for us to stop in here to approve it quick would gain them 2 weeks,
What
Yeah.
does 24th look like for you
yeah,
guys?
I'm out of town.
Yep.
If anything, I can go.
Yep,
You
just do
could
it.
make it, you could make it? No.
I don't think I can make it.
We only need 2
No.
of you.
No, I can't. I got a cable meeting on the
Okay.
24th.
Oh, skip that cable meeting.
How about Friday?
Friday, the 25th.
I'm out of town, so.
Dan?
Yeah, we'd have to play with it. I got a hockey tournament that weekend, but I'm sure we can figure out. It doesn't matter what time, right? If it's just 2 of us, we'd have to post it though. Jesus. And the 24th doesn't work for you, Dick? What time's your cable meeting? We can have the
That
meeting
one's
at
at
4
5.
o'clock. Well, we can have it at 4, 3.
Well,
We're
I
just
can-
posting it.
I can be here at any time.
Yeah, I don't even think you guys would have to be here.
Well, and
But-
I could be here
God,
at
that
any
state
time.
fair starts too.
So back to the 24th?
Yeah, if you have it at
3:30 on the
3:30.
24th, just be done.
Can do
I
that.
don't wanna push them out another week.
All right, I'll see what I can do about getting that posted real fast.
What time, Dan?
3:30.
3:30?
Okay, we've got a spot on the agenda for other new
I
business.
have one other thing. I will get you a revised drawing showing the five, and I don't need the 15 because the absorption of the mound plus 20 will put it where I've got the 15 shown. So I will revise the variance to
I
remove.
wonder if you wanna show like a dotted line for your drain field and then have it be read 20. Perfect,
That
yep.
would be a good idea.
That's a good idea. I will
So
do
you're
that.
gonna redo this drawing here, or?
I will redo this drawing, and then I will make sure the verbiage on the variance only asks for a variance from the property line.
Okay, so those 2 documents to me.
It's nice to see a map with numbers on it. Motion to adjourn?
Well,
What? No,
Oh.
there's other.
He's got a whole bunch of stuff.
no, not
Oh,
really.
you don't? Good.
Now,
Can it
here's the
push-
question though. Do we want to adjourn or just carry the meeting over till the 24th?
No, I just started,
It's other.
just a variance.
Can,
They know that I have something to say.
oh, we ain't done yet. Hang on, hang on, hang
All right.
on. Can we approve it's a variance hearing, but can we approve his permit at a variance hearing or has it got to be a town board meeting? I'd sooner just carry the meeting over to the 24th, that we can have the variance hearing.
And we're safe.
And the same thing, or we're safe.
That's fine. Yeah, we just need 2 of us, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
okay.
You're carrying the meeting over?
Till, to the 24th, and you can write down for only one agenda item, so people don't wonder what we're up to.
So it's for the permit?
Yeah.
Variance hearing and building
Yeah.
permit for
So we
Hoyt's.
probably need to do, 3:30 variance hearing and 3:35 board meeting.
Yep,
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to carry this.
We still got other, Lynn has something.
Oh, what do you got, Lynn?
Well, I brought this up to a few people, and nobody remembers this happening, but it did happen because we found proof. Holcim was given 5 years to reduce this berm out here down to 6 feet, was it? I think it was 6 feet. So I just want to make sure that they remember that. It's in our meeting notes. They agreed to it.
What meeting was that?
September 9, 2020.
Oh, so 2025.
And it's what year, Lynn?
2020.
I do know, Lynn, when I talked to Tom about that, he said that they'd have no issues doing it when they're done with that mining stuff, but he's concerned that you're gonna see all the bright lights, you're gonna get a lot more obstructions if that were to come down now, the dust, everything, it's working as a construction barrier or whatever, but I know he had said he'd definitely be able to work with the township to do some things, but
But it's not till 2025.
we can reread that document, but yeah, I mean, if
I just want to remind or refresh everybody's memory that that's what they agreed.
Yes, I would have for
Let me finish my,
Okay.
yep.
The only other thing I got, a lot of you might have seen it, there's free well water testing, Monday the 18th at the Washington County Service Center from 1 to 6 p.m. You can bring your well water in and get it tested. It's Monday, May 18th, 1 to 6 p.m.
September, yeah.
September 18th.
I did send an email out, Patty.
I got it on my
So again,
It's not testing for
no,
Yeah, I already got the filters for that.
so
I've had them for a while.
that's it. That's all I got.
Okay, I'll make a
Oh, one more.
do we need to push both the permit and the variance to the meeting?
We are.
We have those on the agenda item to carry it over, so those will be we're gonna have a variance hearing at 3:30 and then a solo.
We can't approve the permit. No,
We can't
never
approve
mind,
the
never
permit
mind.
tonight.
That's why we're doing them separate. That's why we're leaving the town board meeting open, yeah. They'll both get done then.
I understand that, but what prevents the permit tonight?
Cause
'Cause
it's
you need
not
a variance
approved
to get the
for
permit.
variance,
You
yeah.
need
If we were
the
to approve that,
variance.
I mean, nothing's gonna happen, but yeah, just state law, right, Dick?
That's right.
State law.
So-
Yeah, rules, regulations.
So, is there any more of that? So I'll make a motion to, keep this meeting open until the 24th of August to hear the variance for the variance hearing, and that's when you could, you could approve the permit.
Yeah, variance hearing and continuation of this meeting for the sole purpose of one building permit. No other business will take place.
Yeah, that's my motion.
And it's 8:47.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.